Peter Cook with Bloomberg Television. Mr. Chairman, if I could follow up just on your last response there. Given the fiscal cliff, is it possible that if the policymakers were not to agree to some sort of deficit deal by the end of this year, and we were to go over the fiscal cliff, that the size of these asset purchases could indeed grow in response to that? And more specifically, you coined the phrase fiscal cliff, and I wanted to get your take on whether you still feel it's the most appropriate language to describe what would happen in the beginning of the year. There's some Americans who may be alarmed by the language. Some economists say it's more of a slope. Do you still feel it's appropriate, given the circumstances, the fiscal contraction that would come if there is no deal?
Well, so to the first part of your question is if the economy actually went off the fiscal cliff, our assessment, the CBO's assessment, outside forecasters all think that that would have very significant adverse effects on the economy and on the unemployment rate. And so on the margin, we would try to do what we could. We would perhaps increase a bit. But I just want to, again, be clear that we cannot offset the full impact of the fiscal cliff. It's just too big, given the tools that we have available and the limitations on our policy toolkit at this point. On terms of the terminology, well, and people have different preferences about what they want to call things. I think it's a sensible term because I think of the fiscal policies providing support to the economy. If fiscal policy becomes very contractionary, the economy will, I think, go off a cliff. I think it's reasonable to be concerned about this. I don't buy the idea that a short-term descent off the fiscal cliff would be not costly. I think it would be costly, and in fact, we're already seeing costs. Why is it that consumer confidence dropped so sharply this week? Why is it that small business confidence dropped so sharply? Why are the markets volatile? Why is business investment among its weakest levels during the recovery? I think all of these things, at least to some extent, can be traced to the anticipation and the concern about the fiscal cliff. And I think that we don't know exactly what would happen, but I think there is certainly a risk that it could be serious, and therefore I think it's very important. The most helpful thing that I think Congress administration can do right now is find a resolution that, on the one hand, achieves long-run fiscal sustainability, which is critical, absolutely critical for a healthy economy, but also avoids derailing the recovery, which is currently in process.